The status update on downtown bike lanes. Do I have any questions from members of council on bike lanes? Oh, right. First of all, anybody from the members of the public that wants to make a presentation or talk about bike lanes? And I see none. Oh, there is someone who would like to make a... Is this about bike lanes? Okay.
Just an observation.
Name, just give your name again, just
Dave
for the record.
Garrett.
Okay.
My observation is that when I drive downtown, I see a lot of cars in the car lanes, and I don't see any bikes in the bike lanes that take away one of the car lanes. My observation.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to make a presentation? Is there anybody else who, oh, there is, okay. Step forward, give your name.
I'm Brent Dewar, and I have driven through downtown for various personal and business reasons, and I have talked to different owners of businesses, as well as noticed myself that in these bike lanes, I mean, I was down between 9 and 10 and 11, and I went home at 12. I saw no one. And this is a wonderful day to be riding in a bike lane, driving anybody, a senior, anybody. There's none. And my husband has tripped over the border lines, whatever they're called. And I found that the city has narrowed it so much that it is, you know, the streets are narrowed down. And yes, the notice that was out there, or the comment was, it has slowed the traffic down, which is fine. We all go 40, 50 through the city, and it's maybe slowed it down. But I'm finding that they are not used like they're supposed to be used, and I have heard other comments from business people as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a presentation? All right, step forward, give your name.
Hi, my name is Sachi Gold. And I noticed, even before you built the bike lanes downtown, the bike lanes on 13th Street North were hardly ever used, almost never, and especially not in the winter and the inclement weather, and especially not when we get our 100-mile-per-hour winds. No, nobody's on a bike. And downtown, those curbs are dangerous. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. My daughter already tripped over them once carrying her baby, and they take up parking spaces and driving spaces. And what's more is there's this gratuitous, you cannot make a right turn now on a red light from 7th Avenue onto 4th because you have to yield to the bikes. But there are no bikes. So you've just taken away a right turn possibility on a red light for no reason. There are no bikes anywhere. Anywhere. And how many of you ride a bike here? Right? You're instituting this stuff, you're not even doing it yourselves. It seems very hypocritical to me. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a presentation? Step forward, give your name.
Joyce Garbett. I understand that some years ago, the city signed on to become a 15-minute city. I've heard Agenda 2030 mentioned a number of times today. That's the WEF, Agenda 2030. They want us all living in 15-minute cities, not driving vehicles. Hence, we're getting all these bike lanes downtown, and I highly object to them. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to make a presentation? Anybody else like to make a presentation? And finally, anybody else on bike lanes? I see none. I'll open it up for questions. Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you very much. One of the questions, and I'm not sure who we're addressing for this, but
Mr. Ali is here.
Mr. Ali, okay. So, Mr. Ali, with regards to the bike lanes, what are some of the things we've done to improve the accessibility issues around them? So people with wheelchairs or walkers, moms with strollers, how have we improved some of the accessibility issues downtown around the bike lanes so that people can easily be able to more easily access the sidewalks while going over the bike lanes?
Yeah, since the operation began last year in 2023, our team has done some work. Bryce, you want to speak? So they have been in constant communication with businesses and users, and have made changes to the curbs on the bike lanes, and Bryce can explain what has gone in that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we've removed blocks from 57 parking stalls. Pardon?
You just,
Can you hear me now?
yeah.
We've removed blocks from 57 parking stalls
Okay, and whereabouts were those exactly?
on 4th Ave and 7th Street,
4th Ave and 7th Street? Okay.
sort of strategically where someone would.
Strategically where there were some issues to make it easier and more accessible. And then I'm understanding that we are installing some new parking stalls downtown this week? And
Yeah.
whereabouts are those going?
They're on 6th Street, just south of 4th, right beside the BMO. We're putting in 7 stalls.
Okay. And that's to accommodate for some of the parking stalls that we lost when the bike lanes were installed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Ali, I just, the winter wasn't a horrible winter, but I know that was an issue when bike lanes were first put in terms of snow removal. What did you notice during the snow periods that we had this year, and what kind of response were you getting? Oh, okay. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you for the question. I'll try to handle the operation and maintenance aspects for Mrs. Ruck, our operational manager. I believe there's a correction as well in your report. It said we spent $24,000 in 2024. That did not include some rental of equipment that we had to rent last minute. So it's actually $39,500. $40,000 we spent in spring of 2024. And as you said, we did not have a bad winter. Last year was a lot worse with, remember the March, it was last winter, January, February, and March, we had some really bad storms. So that was the $40,000 spent. So we've estimated $80,000 is what the bike lanes will cost, but we also have to rent some equipment, some brushes and brooms that are 1.5 meters wide. So that's in there with the suggested operating costs of the bike lanes. In winter, $80,000, and that all comes out of the existing snow and ice control program anyway. And then I believe there's a $10,000 estimate for street sweeping and line markings and maintenance of those bike lanes. Does that answer your question?
Sure. I had a question here. What was the question? I'll pass it on to Councillor Middleton Hope.
Thank you. So some of this will be directed towards Mr. Ali, no surprise. Mr. Ali would have us believe out of this report that there are no financial impacts. I suggest, Mr. Ali, that you go and talk to the businesses in the downtown core who have been upset for the better part of the last 2 years in regards to the installation of these bike lanes, which have impacted their businesses. So I object to the comment that there's been no financial impact. The decision by a previous council has very much polarized our city. Businesses, seniors who do go to doctors in the downtown core to seek appointments, or go to the bank, because my generation still goes to the bank. They do not seem to have a voice in this process. So how have we connected with those who have to negotiate all of the impediments that have been put in their way downtown?
So, the whole process, like we have presented earlier as well. So from the beginning, as you mentioned last councils, so the process has been, transparent with lots of public engagement. So since the construction began, Bryce and our construction team has been in touch with businesses and other stakeholders in downtown. So our purpose of today's update was primarily to provide information on usage and operational costs. So that's what we are presenting here today.
Yeah.
So as far as the public engagement is concerned, that's a constant thing. So currently, I think Bryce and we received some emails from some business owners, and we are responding to them as well. So there were some concerns about parking, and we undertook parking study twice, last year and this year. And we continue to have, availability of parking. For example, this year's parking study indicated that parking occupancy along 64th Avenue, a maximum during the working day was 65%. It means there's a lot of parking available. And on 7th Street, on the bike lane area only, not the whole downtown, it was 64%. So overall, there is a lot of parking available. So the concerns of some businesses that the parking is not available may be coming from the perspective that the parking is not available right in front of their businesses at the time their customers are coming.
Yeah, it's not the parking that has created this angst amongst our citizens. It's the ability of people to be able to access their businesses. So it's walking over the bollards, it's walking over the concrete dividers, it's going through the lane to get to the sidewalk, both in winter as well as in summer. That's where the concerns lie. So at one point, we were advised that this was developed as a result of a federal grant. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we continue to move forward with developing bike lanes in the city, even though I believe council has said no more bike lanes.
If I might just explain that a little bit. Just to clarify, we are not doing any more bike lanes within the downtown core. There might be bike lanes that are going to be happening in the near future, and those are related to pathways, related to the Caldwell Link pathway that we're doing. So those are outside of the core of downtown. We are not doing anymore. And also, just to explain a little bit, yes, we have had concerns and we have had communication with downtown businesses. I can say that specifically, I can remember at least 3 that we have been engaging in the last year or so. And there have been a dedicated team, including Bryce, including Mr. Brumman, that have been working with them in terms of different options. And you're right, some of the concerns are in terms of the barriers and how they access those, and the snow when it's winter time, that is hard to see sometimes. That's where Mr. Jewell said that we actually are spending a little bit more because we bump up a little bit the service in order to be able to provide what we need in order to make those more accessible. On top of that, I know the team has also changed and added accessible parking in certain areas, specifically for people to do this. And when we ask Mr. Ahmed to do the parking study too, is because I will say more than half of the complaints are specifically to parking. People cannot park in front of my business. It's hard for them to walk a block. So we have been trying to explain that there is a balance between parking in front or parking a block, and we also remove those barriers to allow people to not jump on top of it. So definitely there is more work that we can do, and we will be doing that in order to improve the conditions. And when it comes to the grant, yes, this was a federal grant that we use to pay for part of the cost. But we're not doing anything else in the downtown core as per council direction.
Okay, last comment then. In regards to the federal grant, am I wrong that we had to maintain the federal grant conditions for a period of 2 years before we were in a position to be able to change it without having to give the money back?
So you are correct in terms that we need to maintain for a period of time, but the period of time is 5 years.
5 years.
5 years since we did the implementation. If the city goes ahead and remove any of this infrastructure within those 5 years, then there has to be a repayment of the federal grant that we have in place. Okay. What we are also trying to explore, and is part of the report, I want to also address that. We went ahead and installed traffic count devices through the bike lanes. And the report has the numbers. Even during the winter time, there is an average of 20 plus people using the bike lanes per day. And during the summertime, this number, if I can recall correctly, has gone up in some of the lanes up to 150 plus people using the bike lanes. This is early stages. It's no different. I'm going to use the analogy when we did the recycling and the organics. It takes time for people to understand how the system works, get more utilization. And I have directed the staff to continue doing this traffic count because we want to see what the progress is. And you're right, maybe 3 years down the road, we can come back and make a decision or a review if need be. At this point, there is a good uptake in the program, and we just want to continue monitoring in order to provide reports as needed.
With the low ridership, or literally ridership, during the wintertime, is there an option available to us that would close the bike lanes during the winter?
I think I will probably let Mr. Yule expand more into that, but the cost to remove and install is going to be very significant, or it could add a hurdle. And on top of that, some of the infrastructure is actually fixed. So Darwin can expand.
Put a barricade.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a practical solution, whether they're permanent or temporary barriers in the roadway. And I was going to add to what we had talked about before. Bryce had indicated we removed 57 of these barriers. That was to create spaces between parking stalls, not changing the fact that it's dedicated lane still, but allowing people to park and get through if you're in a wheelchair, for example. So that was the reason we created more spaces without lowering the quality of the bike lane. The bike lane still existed at 1.5, 1.8 meters. What was the other question was around, can we make this temporary 6 months and 6 months? Not a practical solution, because it's a two-lane roadway with a lane of parking, or a two-lane roadway. 7th Street is only a two-lane roadway right now, and so you couldn't create a 4-lane roadway there.
Not asking for that.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't be able to take out the parking lane, the bike lane practically. It's as people get used to it as is, and so you have to leave it in, I think, a period of 3 years minimum to get used to the change, and in reality, a period of 5 years, because the grant requires 5 years. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the usage. I'm not sure if it was asked with SBC here, or the perception that these are not being used. Well, the old Transportation Master Plan, it was pretty embarrassing that only 1.3% of the people that moved were moved on a bike, yet 5% of the people that moved were pedestrians walking. Right now, the data that Ahmed's group had identified is doubled in a year. It's already doubled, and you saw the range there. I'm going to use the example of the 7th Avenue bike lanes. When they came in 2017, they doubled every year, and it became a huge increase. It's not hard increasing from 0 to 1 to 1 to 4, but now it's increasing fivefold. I think it was 800% increase in a 5-year period. So it's increased hugely, but you need time to get people used to that. And so we are trying to balance our modes. You want a fair, equal opportunity for a pedestrian, a cyclist, and a vehicle to be able to use our infrastructure.
Thank you for the explanation. I'll step out.
Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the speakers asked who rides a bike. I tried to raise my hand, but I'm not sure if it was visible. And so I'm struggling because we're kind of going all over the place with this submission, which is just about giving an update to council about how well the bike lanes are being utilized. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Because I really appreciated the information, because I do bike and I do take transit, not as much as I possibly should, and will be doing much better in a few months at that. But one of the things for me, and it applies to the reason I mentioned transit, because it applies the same. Until you have a system that is up and working, you understand it, you feel safe and comfortable, it doesn't get utilized a lot, and especially if the connections aren't there. And so what I'm really excited to see is that we've completed some of the connections to the bike lanes. I think Mr. Jewell just talked about 7th Ave, which is really cherished by so many folks in our community. It's a very safe place to bike, but you couldn't get to downtown. So we actually had stranded bike lanes on several sides of our city. So my question, Mr. Ali, or when did we complete the connection from 7th Ave to downtown for biking?
Yeah, we have it here in the report as well. It was in June last year, June 2024.
So not even a year.
No.
And already we're seeing an uptick. This is the way I read the report. Already we're seeing an uptick in usage, correct?
Yes, we have the data.
Yeah.
Until December. Yeah, and yeah, that's correct. Like, but you know, when you see the context, we have in motor vehicles in thousands. Like in our report, we had 5,500 vehicles on 4th Avenue and 25 vehicles on 7th Street. So when we see these numbers compared to say 150 or 160 cycle trips, they look small. But you know, overall, as Darwin indicated, our mode of travel for cycle was very low, and it's steadily increasing as we have experienced on 7th Avenue Bike Boulevard. That was, you know, I don't know if everybody knows, that was the first bike boulevard in the whole of Alberta. Now many other cities have followed suit. So when you provide opportunity, they come. So there's an old saying, you build, they will come. So they will come. We are pretty optimistic about it. And the protected bike lanes are considered based on, you know, lots of evidence that they are the safest and most preferred ways of cycling in any urban area. And that's what we are doing now. And
I would agree.
So the numbers will increase, but the numbers look small because their share currently is small, but we are hoping that they will go up. In many cities have seen this. When you provide opportunity for people to feel safe when they're cycling, the numbers go up. And there is evidence. It's not just my wish.
And Mr. Ali, thank you, because that's what I was trying to get to, is that we have only a few months of data in front of us. So trying to draw some conclusions right now would be probably inappropriate. But in council, we'll be receiving updates annually or however.
Annually,
council,
next year we will come back again.
Right, and so we'll have some ideas moving forward. And I think that was my only question is, I do have another question. We do have about the operating costs, and we talk about the maintenance costs, 24,000 and 2,600, and now we're estimating 80,000 and 10,000. For how many bike lanes? All the bike lanes in the city, or just the downtown core?
Just the downtown core, because we set up a specific work order in 2024 when we opened the bike lanes late 2023, and that 24,000, I had corrected, the 24,000 is really $40,000 is what we spent on winter operations, January, February, March, and April of 2024. We had some pretty bad storms, if you remember. I also remember we were a little bit over budget in 2024 with our snow and ice control program. So this year, this is why we didn't have the rest of the year data in there. So we wanted to make sure it's reasonable. $80,000 is a reasonable amount, and it'll leave us a bit of money to rent some equipment. But that's all from our existing operational budget of 3.88 million or whatever that is.
Okay, so that's just for the downtown core. Yeah. Just at some future point, for my knowledge and comparison sake, could I have the figures on what it costs to operate and maintain the same amount of roadway in our community? Because we never seem to sort of say, oh yeah, but every kilometer of 4-lane road costs X. We only pick and choose the ones we want to look at. How expensive are our roads for for just car transportation, we'll say.
It's a
How
very,
expensive are those to
it's an
maintain?
extremely difficult question to answer because I can give you the easy answer is 3.88 million is the snow and ice control budget, and we have 580 kilometers of road. But are we talking about Whoop Up Drive where we spend 50 times more than another arterial road or a local road that we may not even go on other than doing a bit of sanding? So it's orders of magnitude different. So, but we can always come up with a number of arterial road where we spend most of our money, and that would be on a cost per kilometer. So that is I think we could come up with that cost per kilometer because we track roads by priority. That would be a priority one road and track our budgets by that. So, but the bike lanes are definitely more expensive on a cost per kilometer to maintain because these are 1.5 meter small. We need smaller, slower equipment. You can't run a snowplow through a bike lane. So it's more expensive definitely to maintain, but we're balancing that with it's a lot safer or perceived safety for the cycling lanes. I think somebody mentioned the 13th Street cycling lanes. Those are unprotected, nothing but a painted line separating them. A snowplow blasts off to the right on that one. So bike lanes, the dedicated protected bike lanes are definitely more expensive to maintain. We know that.
So what I will add to that is that definitely we can add, I think that's an excellent question, and we can add that for the next report. And Darwin also made a good point in terms of we need to compare apples to apples. So we will look at a road that will be equivalent in terms of priority and the functionality, which is not going to be 100% equivalent, but at least we can bring that cost for the next report and then have a comparison between those.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Palladino.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we put this thing to rest here, I get a kick out of this, the writing here in this report, because I'd probably write it about the same way, but I get you're defending the project. But when you say the cycle track development has contributed to reducing speeds along 4th Avenue and 7th Street, and the reduced travel speed is a proven intervention for improved road safety. So by approving the bike lanes, you reduce the speed, and by reducing the speed, you have a safer road. It'd be easier just to say, let's reduce the speed on 4th Avenue, right? Just an observation.
So
there's no question.
Yeah, I understand. So I just want to clarify this. So the thing is, you can reduce the speed by putting sign, very easy way to do it. But unless you have some kind of, friction created on the road, people are not going to be compliant as much. And we have seen this. So we are doing this residential speed limit pilot currently, which we will report back to council probably later this year. So we have put the signs, and there is evidence from other municipalities as well. So the difference in the speed limit is much lower, but there is more impacts on actually overall collision records because of the perception. People are more careful and therefore they collide less. But without, now these cycle tracks, when we have the curbs, they create like horizontal friction. And so automatically that impacts the speed. And there is tons and again evidence in worldwide that lower speeds, especially in downtown settings, will help in overall collisions.
Yeah, personally, I avoid 4th Avenue completely. With all of the markings and the bollards and the paved or the painting, and I go on 3rd Avenue or 6th Avenue. I just stay out of the downtown in a car. Oh, this is the only part of 4th Avenue.
Councillor Schmidt-Rempel.
Thank you very much. And just as a point of information, the Lethbridge Police Commission heard last night that LPS is taking a look at some of the incidents along the bike lanes and bike lane safety. And that should be coming back to the commission at the end of May. So that's something that council might want to take a look at and be aware of, and also something that you might want to be aware of, that Lethbridge Police Service is looking at the bike lane safety as well, and what incidences and collisions may have occurred while the bike lanes have been implemented.
Yeah, so we did review the collision data until 2024. We don't, we usually get a data a 1 year back. But we are now trying to get data as it happens every month, so we'll be able to do more analysis. But we'll definitely look forward to working with. We work with them with police, and we'll definitely do something about it if there is anything needed.
Mr. Sanchez.
Yeah, I see I'm connected with Nick. I thought we both thought about the same comment too, because we have worked really close with LPS on the bike lanes, and to the point that actually all the videos that we have done for education and outreach and training for users of the bike lanes, we have had a really great support from LPS. Sergeant Dera actually has been helping us to create this, and we are making sure that these are communicated, and we want to ensure people know all the rules. So they have been great.
Let me just one final question, Mr. Ali, I suppose. What does success of bike lanes look like? Are we looking at an exponential amount of bike lanes, like up by 800%, or what? Have you got a number? Within the next couple of years, when you say, yeah, this was the good thing to do.
So our transportation master plan has a target of 5 to 6%. I'm not 100% sure here, between 5 and 6%. So currently, if I compare the current usage on 4th Avenue, it's between 2 and 3%, 3.5%. So yeah, in downtowns, generally the usage is much higher. So if you could go the ratio of motor vehicles to cyclists, at least on these dedicated cycle tracks, from say current usage to 10%, will be really, feel that it's a good success.
Is there a more, maybe a non-tangible story of success about riding bikes? Not just numbers, but something, I don't know, maybe just a feel-good story about people riding bikes, or what kind of impact it makes on people? That's kind of a philosophical question, I guess.
Yeah, the idea behind trying to move people away from cars, some people might say this is not practical, but that has been tried in many places in the world and been continuous. These efforts are going on. So there are many benefits. One is, we call it sustainable, health, and then road safety as well. So the more people on cycle, the less number of people on vehicles that translates into, and that also adds to the value of the overall societal values, I would say, are, go into the idea that we must promote the alternative or active transportation modes.
Right. Good. Thank you. Thank you very much for your report. I see no other further questions. Therefore, I have a resolution from Acting Mayor Palladino. Be it resolved that the Assets and Infrastructure Standing Policy Committee receive the status update on downtown bike lanes for information. Acting Mayor Palladino on 4th Avenue.
This is for information only, and I will call for the vote.
Question's been called. All in favor? That has passed. And with that, we are adjourned.
Adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you all. Yes, okay. Good job, man. Rock on.
Are you coming to the vigil tonight?
I hope to, yes.
All right, well, I might see you later then.